Let's use a plastic trim tool. We're going to come right along the front here in the center. Once I press this down, I'm going to try to go in as far as I can. There's a little latch under here that we want to get in between. There we are. Now we can pop it up. That's what the latch looks like there. Just kind of pry it on it and it popped apart. And on the far side, you have this area that goes underneath the door panel. Keep that in mind for the installation process. Now let's start removing the wiring harness. For this, I'm going to use a small screwdriver. Looking at one side, you're going to find a little push tab. Carefully get in between this area, press on it, and separate the wiring from the switch. Give it a quick inspection for corrosion. Assuming it looks good, go ahead and set that aside. Now let's move up to the handle area. You're going to find a single Phillips head screw. Go ahead and remove that. Once you have that screw out, continue on down to this door handle area. Deep inside the hole, you're going to find another Phillips head screw. Remove that one. Let's remove this as well. Now let's move up here to this corner area. We'll use our plastic trim tool, get underneath this, pop it off of there. Now let's come down from there, and along the side of the trim panel, you're going to find that you have a push clip. For this, you want to go ahead and carefully turn the center counterclockwise to remove it. Now I'll continue on with my metal trim tool, and I'll pop this out of here. That's what it should look like. Let's continue with our plastic trim tool and make our way along the door panel. We're trying to find an area that we can get in between the door and the panel itself and gently separate it. Once you have it pulled away from the door, go ahead and lift it up. You want to make sure you make it up and over your door lock. Now that the panel is off, let's move along to this area. You're going to find two more 10mm headed bolts. Remove both bolts and the bracket. Let's carefully grab onto our weather barrier. We'll start pulling it down. Be careful for all this black stuff right here. That's considered butyl tape and it's extremely sticky. If you get it on your clothes, it's going to ruin them. And if it goes through the laundry, well, you can guess what would happen. All right, at this point, we can move to our inside door handle. For this, generally, you just want to get in between this tab and the door and gently pop it apart. Ours is already separated. I'll just grab onto this now and pull it towards me. It wants to slide out. Looking along this area, you can tell it has two little hooks, and looking at the door, you can see exactly where those need to go. Now at this point, we're going to come from the back side. We need to take this door handle off. All you want to do is grab onto this white area here and pull it out of the slot. Once you have it out of there, go ahead and pull the cable down and then pull it out of its slot as well. Now we can set that door handle aside. Let's continue pulling away the vapor barrier. Let's reconnect our master window switch. Before you put this on here, you want to pay attention to the pigtail, or the wiring harness. Typically, you want to grab onto this and slide the outer portion down. That's going to unlock this center area here. Once you have it slid down, you can go ahead and line it up and press it in. Press in the outer portion to lock it in, double check it. Now that we have that connected, go ahead and put the key in the on position. We're going to carefully bring down the driver's side window until we can access the two mounting bolts that hold the window to the regulator. One of the areas that we want to pay attention to is this oval here. That's where we're going to access one of our bolts, and the other one will be out in this large area here. There we go. At this point, we should have clear access to both of our mounting bolts. One's out in the open, the other one's hidden behind this area. To get this one, I'm going to carefully reach in through this area so I can hold on to the bolt as I finish removing it with the 10mm. Now that we have both bolts out of there, we're going to continue by carefully bringing the window into the fully upright position. Now at this point, you need to have something to hold the window up while we continue. I'm going to use some of this masking tape, and I'm going to use a lot of it because tape's a lot cheaper than a window. Now the next thing that we'll do after you tape the window is to bring down the window regulator so it's in the fully compressed position. Essentially, when it comes down, you want to have the cross beam going straight across here, not up here and not down there. Turn off your key power. Let's disconnect the wiring for the window regulator. For this, there's a little squeeze tab towards the front. Squeeze that, pop it off of there. Quick inspection for corrosion. Once you've done that, continue on to your 6 10mm headed mounting bolts. Now, as I remove this last one, I'm going to carefully reach inside here and make sure I'm holding the window regulator. Grab that window regulator and slide it away from the door. Now we can pull it out through the large hole in the door. There it is, friends. Okay, friends, let's get ready to install our brand new window regulator. We'll take this and we'll slide it in position and start in all 4 of our mounting bolts. As you slide it up, you want to make sure that you have this shaft sliding through the door. After that, you can turn it as needed to line up all 4 of your mounting bolt holes. Let's tighten those. Now let's continue over to our cross rod. On the cross rod, you're going to notice that you have these little pitons that come protruding out. Those are the areas that need to slide into these slots. That's going to help align the bolt holes. Once you have that in place, continue on with your mounting bolts, snug them up. Now let's connect in our wiring harness for the window regulator. Now for this, with all the extra slack that I have with the wiring, generally I like to bring it down here and I'll just wire tie it in place. I don't like having all the slack up in there in case it gets caught on the window as the window is going up and down. Now let's continue on by putting the key in the on position, and we're going to bring the window regulator down to the area that we can access the mounting bolt holes. Before you reach your hand inside here, make sure you turn off the key power. Remove your tape and carefully bring the window down so it connects with the window regulator. Now let's carefully flex this so we can put it in the proper position. We'll do the same on this one. Now let's start in both of our mounting bolts. Now that they're both started, I'll snug them up. Before we continue any further with putting the door back together, put the key in the on position and test the window functionality. Perfect. Now you can remove the key and the window switch again. Put our cable through here. Now we can start putting on our inside door handle. Let's look from the back side. We want to take the center of the cable and slide it in through its corresponding hole. Once you have that pressed in, go ahead and twist it, and then we're going to slide the white into its proper position and lock it in. We'll listen for a click, give it a tug to make sure it's secure. Now I'm just going to tug on that door handle a couple times and make sure that the cable functions properly. Now let's take that door handle and put it in position on the door. Slide it right in there. We'll line up this back area. Let's take that vapor barrier and we'll start sliding it back into its original position. You want to try to get this to stick back on as good as you can. Let's get our metallic bracket on here. Snug it up. All right, now it's time to put on the door panel. There's going to be several areas to think about with this. You have several push clips that need to fit in with their corresponding holes in the door. Up along the top here, you're going to have this area that needs to fit down and over this area of the door. You have the hole for where your door lock needs to go through, and of course, on the door itself, you have wiring that you want to pay attention to. Let's start taking this, and I'm going to grab that wiring. We'll get it right into its proper position. Now I'm going to bring this up, put it up and over the door lock. We'll slide that through the hole. I'm going to press the top of the door up against the window so I'm sure that those hooks along the top are sliding in where they're supposed to be. Now once that's down as far as it can go, continue on by lining up all those push clips that make their way around the door and pressing it into position. Let's install our window switch. Lock it in, listen for a click. Now we're going to roll this. We want to make sure that we have this area down under the door panel, slide it rearward, and then bring it down. Listen for a click, double check to make sure it's secure. Let's get this inside handle on here. You have several little tabs that need to line up with their corresponding holes. Once it's in there, continue by putting in your Phillips head screw. Let's put in our plastic push tab. Make sure it's in the unlocked position. Essentially, you want the center pulled out. We'll press that in with the outer aspect and then lock it in with the center. Now let's get this plastic trim piece in here. Looking at this, you can see that you have a push tab and you have several areas that show you that it needs to be pressed down before you press in the push tab. Press that down, lock it in. Let's put in our last Phillips head screw in the center here. Okay friends, we got the door back together. The last thing that I always like to do is just double check everything's functionality. Thanks for watching.